We are told that knighthood is earned through courage, loyalty, and skill on the battlefield. It is a title bestowed upon the worthy, a reward for noble deeds. But what if that was only half the story? What if the most important requirement to become a knight wasn't bravery, but a massive bank account? In this video, we will ignore the poetry and pull out the ledger. We will break down the shocking itemized bill for becoming a medieval knight. From the price of a warhorse to the cost of the ceremony itself, we will prove that knighthood wasn't just earned. It was purchased with a fortune that would stagger a modern millionaire. Expense or one, the warhorse, the medieval supercar. A knight is a cavalryman, and his power begins with his mount. But a knight did not ride just any horse. He rode a destrier, a warhorse, and this was the medieval equivalent of a modern supercar. These were not ordinary animals. Destriers were massive, powerful stallions, specifically bred and trained for the chaos of battle. They were trained not to flinch at the sound of screaming men and clashing steel, and to charge headfirst into a line of spears. Acquiring such a beast was incredibly expensive. A single high-quality warhorse could cost 80 to 100 times more than a standard riding horse, or the equivalent of several years' income for a skilled craftsman. In today's money, think of it as purchasing a brand new Ferrari or Lamborghini. And a knight couldn't have just one. He needed a faster, lighter horse called a palfrey for travel, and at least one sumpter horse just to carry his armor and baggage. The transportation budget alone was astronomical. Expense there's two. The armor. The personal tank. If the horse was a supercar, the knight's armor was his personal custom-built tank. In the later Middle Ages, a full suit of interlocking plate armor was the pinnacle of military technology, and it came with a staggering price tag. This wasn't mass-produced equipment. Each piece was painstakingly handcrafted by a master armorer, custom-fitted to the knight's exact measurements for maximum mobility and protection. The cost of a full suit of high-quality Milanese or Gothic plate armor was again equivalent to a luxury vehicle, or in some cases, the price of a small farm with all its buildings. And the costs didn't stop there. This high-tech equipment required constant maintenance. After every battle or tournament, a skilled armorer was needed to hammer out dents, replace broken rivets, and polish away rust. It was like owning a complex piece of machinery that required its own personal mechanic on standby. Expense number 3, the weapon's arsenal. A knight's sword was a symbol of his status, and a high-quality blade from a master smith was a significant expense in itself. But he needed far more than just one sword to be effective. His primary weapon on horseback was the lance, a long, heavy spear designed for the initial charge. Once the lance shattered, as it often did on impact, he needed other tools. He needed a mace or a warhammer to crush the helmets and armor of other knights. He needed a dagger like a rondelle for desperate close-quarters grappling. Each of these weapons was a specialized, expensive tool, and he needed a full set to be prepared for any situation. Expense armor buffieur, the support staff, the entourage. A knight never ever traveled or fought alone. He was the commander of a small unit, an entourage that he had to personally fund. This was his single greatest ongoing expense. At a minimum, he required 1 or 2 squires to help him with his armor, care for his horses, and assist him in battle. He also needed several men-at-arms professional soldiers who fought alongside him. And then there were the servants, cooks, and grooms who supported the entire operation. A knight had to pay for all of their wages, their food, their equipment, and their horses. He wasn't just a warrior. He was running a small business, a mercenary company with a massive payroll. This is why land ownership was so crucial. The income from his estates was needed to fund this entire military enterprise. But the equipment, the horses, and the staff were just the operational costs. The single biggest, most surprising expense had nothing to do with war. It was the price of the party. Expense number 5, the knighting ceremony. The price of the party. This is the most shocking economic reality of all. The ceremony where a squire was officially dubbed a knight was not a simple tap on the shoulder with a sword. It was a massive, multi-day festival designed to announce his family's wealth and status to the world. And the cost was often ruinous. The knight's family was expected to host a lavish feast for hundreds of guests, other nobles' knights, and their own large entourages. This meant providing enormous quantities of the finest food and wine. But that was just the start. The host was also expected to give out extravagant gifts, a practice known as largesse. This included giving new sets of luxurious robes to all the attending knights, presenting fine swords or even new horses to his lord and his closest allies. The young knight himself would need a brand new spectacular suit of armor and weaponry just for the occasion. Historians have found records where the cost of this single party, the food, the entertainment, and especially the gifts, was so immense that it could bankrupt a lesser noble family for a generation. It was a massive gamble. You spent a fortune to prove you belonged in the exclusive club of knighthood, hoping that the status and connections you gained would eventually pay off. So when we look at the final bill, the picture becomes clear. The supercar warhorse, the personal tank of armor, the arsenal of weapons, the payroll for the staff, and the ruinously expensive party. Knighthood was not a meritocracy. It was an exclusive club for the 1% of the medieval world. Bravery was certainly a prerequisite. Skill was essential. But the key that truly unlocked the door to this elite society was cold, hard cash, and lots of it. The economics of knighthood reveal a brutal truth. The system was designed to ensure that only the rich could afford to be heroes. This journey to uncover the hidden economic and social truths of the past is our core mission. If you find this perspective fascinating, show your support by hitting the like button. And if you want to keep digging into the real stories behind the myths, then subscribe to The Knight's Journey and ring the notification bell. Because to understand history, you don't just follow the sword, you have to follow the money.